Turn out for tonight's primary election forum with candidates running for Teton County Coroner. I'm Susan Dong, tonight's moderator and a member of the League of Women Voters of Wyoming. Tonight's forum is sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Wyoming, the Teton County Library, Jackson Hole News and Guide, Buck Braille, and the Jackson Hole Community Radio KHOL 89.1, with funding provided by the Teton County Library Foundation and Friends. Thanks to all of these organizations for their continued support and commitment to informing you, the voters. And before we proceed, I'd like to remind everyone to please silence your cell phones. Thank you. Tonight's forum focuses on candidates in the August 18th primary election for County Coroner, and all the candidates are participating in the same forum. Kat Clausen and Dave Hodges are running in for the Democratic primary, they're right over there, and the Republican primary candidates for County Coroner are Krista Nethercott and Russell Nelson. As a reminder, in Wyoming, our primary elections are conducted as closed primaries. This means that only voters who are registered with the major political party, either the Democratic Party or the Republican Party, can participate in that party's primary election. Unaffiliated voters or those registered with minor parties cannot vote in those major party primaries. So to get to know our candidates better, each of them will answer an interesting icebreaker question on a rotating basis. Then they'll each have up to 1 minute to introduce themselves, followed by the question and answer format. A little more info about the format. Tonight's questions will be posed by our astute media panel, Jasmine Hall from Jackson Hole News and Guide, Hannah Trask of Buck Braille, and Evan Robinson Johnson from KHOL Community Radio 89.1. Karen Jerger, of League of Women Voter member, is our timekeeper tonight, and she'll keep the forum moving. A yellow sign indicates that candidates have 30 seconds left. Stop means candidates are allowed to finish a sentence or a short thought, but not continue beyond that. Each candidate also has up to 1.5 minutes to answer the question from the media panelists on a rotating basis. So everyone gets a chance to go first. And each candidate also has a red card worth 1 minute, which can be used twice to add time to an answer, rebut another candidate, or bring up something they feel is important, or it doesn't have to be used at all. These cards may be used at any time during the evening, just signaling intent to me and they'll work on it. And you, the audience, are also encouraged to submit questions on a note card. Note cards will be collected and delivered to the media panel for possible use by Sandy Shuptrine, a League of Women Voters member. At the end of the questioning phase, each candidate will then have 1 minute to summarize and present their closing remarks. We will finish this forum by 7:30. One more item, please. Each candidate, you need to speak directly into the microphone because this forum is being video recorded for folks who were unable to attend tonight. So, each candidate will start with the icebreaker question, and thereafter each one of you will have 1 minute to introduce yourselves. So, media panelists, what's the icebreaker question? And then we'll go this way. So, Krista will be the first person to answer that question.
Okay. Thanks. If you had to teach a class on one thing, what would it be?
Crafting. I think I am a big crafter, and so I like to be quilting. So if I taught something, it would be sewing.
Can you repeat the question?
If you had to teach a class on one thing, what would it be?
Teach a what?
A class. Class.
Teach a class. I think that.
Yeah. This gives us a little personal insight.
I'd probably go with cooking over an open fire. I spend a reasonable amount of that, and it's a lot of fun to share that.
Let's see, probably how to make friends with every single animal that you come into contact with while also making others feel uncomfortable.
because that's kind of money. That's the wheelhouse right there.
You should be there for about.
I would probably teach Mac economists to hikers and campers to make us feel more comfortable traveling in the wilderness.
Great, thanks for those quick personal insights. Now, each one of you has 1 minute introduction on a rotating basis, and we will start with Russell.
That
You'll be first with your intro.
please. Hi, welcome to the forum tonight. Thank you all for coming. I'm Dr. Russell Nelson. I'm a physical and forensic anthropologist. I'm a human remains specialist. For the past 10 years, I've been a member of the Teton Coroner's team as deputy, and then for the past 5 years as chief deputy. I have consulted and worked around the world basically on human remains projects in contexts ranging from disaster response to archaeological field work. Actually, I got a consult this afternoon from the county wondering if the bones that they found were prehistoric. Well, they knew they were prehistoric, but are they pioneer or are they Native American? So that was a fun one. But at any rate, I am looking to become your next county coroner, and I would appreciate your support. Thank you very much.
Hey guys, thank you for coming. I appreciate all of the work that everybody here has done. My name is Kat Clausen. I am one of our deputy coroners for Teton County. I've been a deputy coroner since 2021. I've lived in this county since 2011 when we had a quarter life crisis and fled Seattle. I have trained with the FBI. I have traveled to the CDC. I have attended national conferences and shouted at both the Clark County Coroner's Office in Las Vegas and the King County Medical Examiner's Office in Seattle. I've also taken more call days and participated in more autopsies than anyone else on this stage since 2020. But those numbers aren't why I'm running. I'm running because of the people that I've had the privilege to serve, the decedents entrusted to my care, their grieving families, and the first responders and healthcare professionals that I work alongside every day. Those people are my wife.
Thank you, legal voters. I think that we're a team, and we'll look tonight how it each comes out. For instance, last week we all worked together on that event. I'm running for county coroner because I want to continue serving this community as I have with the coroner's office for the last 18 years as a board-certified death investigator. It's always with compassion, respect, and integrity that I commit to helping people navigate the process of the extreme difficulty of losing someone that's been close to them. The job is indeed challenging. However, I've experience combined with knowledge and training in death investigation. I've retired from the sheriff's office after 29 years where I was a death investigator, and now I'm prepared and focused and committed to continue with the coroner's office as the next coroner and death investigator. And thank you. That's good. That's it.
Hello everyone, my name is Krista Nethercott. I've been in the Native Jackson since 2000. My partner and I decided to buy the funeral home about 5 years ago, and so I'm kind of running to help solidify what happens after somebody passes away. I deal with them already through the funeral home, but this is a way that I can kind of have people know exactly what to expect when we get them into our care. So we're going to get into a lot of different stuff as to why we're running, but anyway, I used to be a probation agent. I used to work for the county attorney's office. So now I am funeral home director in Walker.
Great, thanks for those terrific intros. Now to gain insight into your positions on important issues, our first media question will be to Kat, who has up to 1.5 minutes to answer the question.
Awesome. Thank with it.
All right, hello. So the first question that we have for you all is, why do you think that this race is so contested?
Sure.
Well, I can tell you exactly what this race is contested. Well, Russell put his name in the hat first, and I was committed to being his campaign director. And then I had a chat with Dave at Target and said it would be fun if you ran. It'll be like a fun thing. And then I chatted with Krista, and she said, we need a woman in this race. And then on the last day to register for campaign, I had a crisis of conscience. I was chatting with friends. I was like, push down, can I not really do it? And at the end of the day, of that last day, I said, you know what? I care too much about the people in this community, and I think we all have an interesting take on this work. And I'm gonna do it. That's why this race is contested, because we are a team, as Dave said. And we all work independently, but also together. I think we're all just excited for a new vision. And we're all just excited to run together and separately. But I don't think there's any contention here. I think we're all educated enough to run the office. I really do believe that. But yeah, that's exactly why this race is great then. Because I'm the guy, unfortunately, against everybody up here but Russell.
But the coroner job is a tough one, and I thought nobody would ever want to do it. And look at this, there's 4 of us. And I think that's a statement to the quality of staff at the Teton County Coroner's Office. And the community of Jackson, Teton County, should be grateful to afford quality candidates that not only have the qualifications, but also the commitment. Tomorrow we could get an event much like Teton passed last week, and all 4 of us are working together. What I find interesting, the day after the election on Wednesday morning, we wake up, whoever is the new manager, guess what? We're all working together. So I think and I can tell everyone has been open and transparent and say, this is what I'm going to do. We still can see each other in the streets. We're at the office. We try to laugh as much as possible about this unique situation compared to other races in the county where you truly have a team. And I guess that's the most important part. I'll take away from this tonight. We have a team. You'll have a team tomorrow, and you'll have a team day after the election.
I think it's contested because I think we all have great ideas and we're all different people and we want to achieve different things. I think that with Catholic and women, we have certain things that we struggle with in doing a job like that, whereas the men have the ability to move people easier. And I just think, like Dave said, that's the best thing about this office is no matter what happens in this election, we all have respect for each other and we're all going to work really well together. So I don't look at it as we're pitting one another against each other or we're going to create drama. We all have the focus that we want to be doing the best we can to serve our community. So I don't really look at it as being a huge contested thing, like that it's about it.
I'm sorry to have to call it. I find that there's not a whole awful lot to add to what I just heard. It is a team. We respect each other a lot. We work together. When things get bad, we're not worried about getting our hands dirty together. I guess my point would be I'm just running for team captain. I know who my quarterback is and I know who my manager is at the end of the day.
We like this spot. The second question will be answered first by Dave.
Okay. What strengths will you bring to this position, and what parts of the role do you expect to have the steepest learning curve?
So what strengths?
Yeah.
Well, I'm a board certified death investigator since 2015. at a national standard, and it should be the national standard for everybody working in the medical examiner's office or a coroner's office, be board certified death investigator. I retired from the sheriff's office about 3 years ago now. After almost 29 years, I retired as detective and as the death investigator at the sheriff's office. I joined the coroner's office in 2008. I've worked with 4 different coroners: Bob Campbell, Alan John, Kylie Campbell, and Dr. Blue. I've learned a lot under each. Every time with their leadership, but it's my criminal investigation background, which is the key to what the coroner does. A coroner is essentially a civilian detective. Your job is to investigate death, and that's what we all do. And that is not only my strong suit, I believe it is the major component you need at a coroner's office, is the criminal investigation side of bridging the interface between the medical field and the legal field. That's what the coroner does. It bridges those two. It investigates the facts, it compiles the facts, it concludes the facts, just like you would in a criminal investigation, to come up with the ultimate cause and manner of death. The learning curve, the administrative side, I guess signing vouchers, paying bills.
No, I
Krista.
Okay, so I think my strengths would be I am more of an administrator, and I like that. I feel like I have a different perspective because I'm a funeral director, and so I work heavily with families and trying to send them to places where they need to be, to sit down with family and talk about, you know, what happens after, you know, you put stuff together. And I don't know, I think it's just one of those things where I feel like it kind of goes into the other, one to the other. Like, yes, you need to know exactly how that person died and do the cause of death, but I think it's more than that. I think it's being personalized with each family and giving them the support that they need. And I feel like I can bridge that gap myself because I have to deal with this on a daily basis. So I feel like the general population that we would deal with would be happy to have somebody that can kind of guide them from point A to point B and make a full circle. So as far as, I guess, like the weakness of being not in the death field per se, like these guys are, it would be more like learning the rules of like what you can do in law enforcement and taking, you know, I know you do evidence, I know there's certain things, but everything has rules. And that's something I'd have to learn. And that the coroner's position, you would go to school for that. That's what they would teach you to be able to do this job.
I feel like my strengths are going to be in the analysis, identification, the processing, disaster planning. Some of the things that we do are actually federally mandated to be doing, as well as the work of the coroner's office, but processing casework. Investigating deaths and investigating the circumstances surrounding a learning curve. I think it's going to be a challenge working with the county and town governments. Working toward some of the projects that we're trying to get underway. The new morgue is the one that comes to mind right off the top of my head, but there are some other. If this new facility comes together, what kind of lab space is it going to have? What did that as on top of it? I would say as a wrap up, processing cases and the casework and investigation is going to be the part that I already do. We got to that. The learning curve is going to be that administrative part.
Let's see. So, like Dave, I also have my medical legal death investigation certification, which is a national certification that combines medical training with forensics and legal standards for cases. You know, my strength, I lead with my heart. I have empathy for our decedents and their next of kin, their family and friends. We live in a small town. We know the people that died. I have fantastic relationships with our first responders and law enforcement. I have the endorsement of our pathologist that we work with, Dr. Callahan, and the endorsement of Anthony Stevens, one of the leaders of TCSAR. I also come to this role with no biases. I was trained specifically in this work. Obviously, Russ and Dave have mountains of previous training in other industries that work hand in hand with us, but I was trained specifically for the coroner's office, which I think is a strength of mine when I go to scene and when I work with families. My learning curve is going to be very similar to Russ. I really am not super great with bureaucracy. I don't have a lot of patience for that. And working with the county on what we need, I think is going to be a challenge because our new board needs a lot. And we're going to have to sit down with the county and deal with that.
Great. The third question will be first answered by Krista.
Awesome. And just a request, since we are live streaming on the radio, if you can start by introing your name just at the start of your response, so this thing speaking. Our third question is, what are the responsibilities of the coroner's office that people might not realize?
My name is Krista. I think most people don't understand what goes on to, we're there to identify the person, to notify the next of kin as to what's happened, taking care of the evidence that's presented, that you might need to do, like with blood samples, with taking stuff that's going to help you do the investigation. Those are big things. I think there's a lot of misconceptions about what the coroner knows. And that's why I have tried really hard on my website to kind of give information as to like, what is the coroner? What do they do? Why is it important? Green nosed.
It's Matt. I do correct this you.
Well, the actual statutorily required stuff is not what you're asking about. Oh, this is Dr. Nelson, my answer. The other stuff is the unspoken stuff, the conversations that you have with the sister of your decedent, the work that you do with the woman whose husband didn't wake up that morning, the son whose mother was found on the kitchen floor. It's the part of it that you don't do as a forensic anthropologist. I can guarantee you that because you're in a laboratory. And I think that unspoken part of the job, it's a squishy thing. It doesn't have a definition, but you know it when you see it. Whether it's walking a family member around the decedent's camp in Darby Canyon, or so that they can have closure, or it's just sending a note to see how they're doing. And that's one of the things that I think everybody in this room rises to the occasion. I'm thrilled very well, actually.
Thanks for that, Russ. This is Kat Clausen. Russ touched on a lot of that, actually. Yes, there are a lot of things that the coroner's office does, notifying next of kin, toxicology, working with the pathologist, post-mortems. The deputies are doing all of that work, by the way. The coroners are doing that. Certainly not friendly. But it is difficult, and you can't teach how to deal with the pain of sitting with the family and talking to them about their child that's passed, or pulling a canine out of a car after his dad died with his arm around. I think that is the hardest part of this job, and it is the most incredibly rewarding part of this job. And I think all of us do it really well.
Dave Hodges. And the question's not the legal requirements, and the panel's covered all of what, I guess, other issues. The coroner is the last responder. There's first responders all over the community. We are supposed to be a part of that, but we are the last responder, and it is all dumped in our lap. And as the Russ, Kat, and Chris have pointed out, it's those phone calls, days, weeks, months after the event, from a loved one, from a friend, still trying to get some sort of explanation or closure. That continues. You don't get a lot of that with first responders. I was a cop for 29 years. You leave the scene, firefighter leave the scene, and it is done. For the last responder, it continues for days and weeks, and that often adds a stress to the staff. And I find it's going to be one of the things I want to accomplish when I'm coroner is our own well-being and mental health, physical health as a staff, because I think it's greatly overlooked here in our state, but even nationally. There's a lot of states now addressing the last responder, the coroner, and their mental health and their well-being.
Great question, those wonderful answers. So question number 4 will be first answered by Russell.
That's done.
Well, I think you've all touched on the emotional burden that the coroner's office is responsible for carrying. And because this job does mean being on a call for the worst day of someone's life, how do you take care of yourself so it doesn't wear you down?
Well, you get lots of sleep and you don't stress yourself. If you're on call, try not to do anything stupid. Whatever that may be, tend the garden, cook a nice dinner for your family. Don't do anything that's gonna, stay in the county, but that's important. Look after yourself. Take a bath. After yourself a little bit. You could get called and it could be nasty. In fact, yeah, if you get called, it probably will be. But that's basically the gist of it.
Kat Wilson. I think I have to give a shout out to all of the people in my life who have had to listen to me not be able to talk at all about a case, but being very emotional after a case, and holding me up on those evenings. I think downloading with other team members, because we're the only people we talk about it with, that's really super helpful. I have therapists that I check in with. We also have access to those through TIPS, which we will be joining once the new coroner is seated. TIPS is Teton Interagency Peer Support. We are currently the only agency in the county or the park that are not involved in that. And I think it's a wonderful resource, and I think we're all really looking forward to taking advantage of once we have a new coroner. TetonTips.org, check it out. It's great. First responders need it. But yeah, taking care of the mental
the mental health and the well-being. I think that that's something that our deputies, we work really, really hard, and it's incredibly thankless that we work long hours and we take our ends. And checking in with each other, checking in with ourselves, and not compartmentalizing, because obviously it's going to come out somewhere, whether it's drug and alcohol dependency, or having a fight with your significant other, or sitting in the car for 2.5 hours and listening to a podcast in your driveway. So, yeah, mental health check-ins.
Bicycle. One word.
Yes.
I will add one last thing, that commitment I would make as coroner to the theme, to the status. We need to take more time away, the bicycle.
I second that. I second the bicycle.
Jim at the Blue Mart.
Okay, Krista here. I would say that it's very important for me to just get away, like Dave says. Being a funeral director and being the owner, there's only 2 of us, and that's a lot to deal with the community. So to me, it's taking those breaks. It could be going to Idaho Falls for a weekend or a day, or just take a day and go to Salt Lake City or something with my kids. I have 3 young teenagers. It really is finding something that I really like to do, whether that's quilting, it could be, I'm a huge animal lover. I used to go volunteer and go pet the cats at the adoption center. Sounds crazy, but that really releases my stress. So that's what I would say.
Terrific.
Question number 5 will be answered first by Kat.
So the Teton County Coroner's Office currently operates out of a converted 2-car garage. What's your honest assessment of the facility, and what would an ideal space look like?
It's office. 2-car garage is incredibly generous. This is Kath Boston. It's a 1-car garage with another side room on it. We do incredible work with what we're given, and I really do believe we need a new facility. I don't think there's anybody on this panel that doesn't think that. But I take issue with the current coroner's assessment that it is ghoulish and that it is unsanitary, because I think that is disrespectful to the people that we work on and their families and the people that work in the space. There are definitely tech amendments we would like. We'd like our lift to work all the time. We would like the bays of our cooler doors to shut without having to force them. Yeah. We would like a suction machine to work all of the time. But we do what we can with what we're given, and it is a pristine space, and it is a sacred space. I absolutely advocate for a new morgue. I think we need that as our population grows, because we will have more death in this community, unfortunately, as our population grows and as the tourism grows. But the facility that we are in now, we are able to provide a standard of care that is respectful and kind to our patients. So I take issue with some of it. It is now a 2-car garage. Very small.
I think Kat makes excellent points. Thank you. January 1st, if I woke up and I'm a coroner and the county commissioner says you have a new morgue, of course, I'd be right in. Yeah, we'll take it. Reality is, it's going to be up to the taxpayers, and I think that's a conversation for the taxpayers, the commissioners, and our community. We do need enhancements, improvements, reconstruction. I'm a man of compromise, alternatives, options. I will listen. The team, of course, as the first year, county commissioners and taxpayers, plumbing. We need a plumbing upgrade. The floor needs to drain. 2-car garage would be great. And then I think we need to have advances in the evidence safekeeping, which is the physical part of keeping evidence secure, but also the technological part, electronically taking evidence. Evidence in the chain of custody as a cop is vital, and we need to have that level of service at the coroner's office. Essentially, you barcode the evidence in, just like you would at Target, and then it's secured and it's tracked. But I agree with everybody. I don't think we have anybody in this panel that's going to disagree. We need improvements, but I will be willing to listen, discuss, compromise, and talk to the county commissioners about that. With this.
So it's no surprise that I agree with these guys. What I think is great on my behalf is that since I am the owner of the funeral home, the one thing that I really don't like about the coroner's space is that there's nowhere for a person to go with the family and spend time with them. And that's really important. You might only spend, an amount of time of saying, hey, this is my loved one, it's an ID. But some people want to spend more time. Well, since I'm the owner of the funeral home as part of it, I tell these guys, bring that person and bring the family to me, because I can wash their hair. I can, close their eyes, close their mouth. There's a way to make them presentable and have a great memory picture when they're gone. So I think that, yes, I think they're, in the future, I think there should be a new building, but can we afford it right now? That's a lot of money. When I read in the paper, like $6 million. If I could provide something through my service through the funeral home that could get us by to a certain period of time, I think we should look at all of our resources together. And so I'm hoping that people can see that. Like, we need to band together. Yes, there's things that need improvements, but I really don't think we can spend that kind of money right now. And where's it gonna come from?
Yeah. My turn. Awesome. Yeah.
Well, we found $180 million for a justice center, and they didn't include a new specific, they didn't include a new morgue in it. I don't know that would have been something that's, well, actually, when I worked in Tucson, the medical examiner's office, early on, it was in the county building down on Congress Avenue. Anyway, we do need a new new facility, or certainly an upgrade. Like Dave said, the floor does hold water. If they would have put the floor drains like at the low points, it would have been nice. We could use an X-ray machine that takes a picture just a little bit bigger than a dinner plate. But like Kat said, we are working with the supplies and the equipment that we have. Some investment in infrastructure would be great. A lab space, at this point.
The library,
To Chris's point, I try and send people to this funeral home. I don't think that the morgue that we have is any kind of a place for a family to come to view their loved one. The viewing space that we have is taken up with a huge, pretty inadequate X-ray machine, but it's the only X-ray machine we have. So yes, I would advocate for a new morgue.
Thank you. The sixth question will be first answered by Dave.
All right. The county has waived building housing above the ward. Where do you stand on that idea?
This is Dave. Housing above the board. Wow. Take a deep breath and think about that. All right. Does it have that curb feel? I think it also, no, is the answer. I think it is a breach of security and confidentiality of patient care, of evidence. To have somebody living on top of the morgue, beside the morgue, out smoking a cigarette while you're trying to deal with a patient or evidence is unfair to the family and actually unfair to the renter. Number three, the cases are rare, but they do happen, that one day Fox News or CNN is camped out And can you imagine this service to that renter who's out there walking his dog, trying to have a hamburger on the deck, and CNN or Fox News has got the telescope on him, trying to track him down to get some information that think that is dreadfully unfair to the tenant. And lastly is, I think, just plain disrespectful that you're dealing with a family and they come up to the morgue to visit their loved one, and the tenant is out drinking a beer, smoking a cigarette, doing what they're allowed to do. It's their home. But in the meanwhile, they're looking down on the besides the family who's in the worst part of their life trying to deal with the loved one, and they're smoking a cigarette. There you go.
Yeah. I think it's you.
Is it David?
Yeah, we just agreed.
So it goes to Krista.
Look at you play at that too.
Krista, Dave hit it right on the nail on the head. I would not want a family to live up there. I get if it would be employee housing and we needed to be there, it would be more secure, but we don't want to be there 24/7 at work. So I just feel like it's a very, very bad idea. And so no, I do not think people should live above the marsh.
Have you ever spent any time at all downwind from the carcass disposal pit? Decomposing bodies are not, we don't get that many cases like that, but when we do, you have to deal with it. Now, aside from what everybody else has said, I would chime in on that. Is this what you want to subject the high school graduate from Minnesota that comes out to Jackson Hole for his first summer job, and he's all excited about being here, and he gets to live upstairs in the dorm above the morgue, and somebody shows up that's been out for a month and a half. I guess just to summarize, I think it's a categorically bad idea. But I understand that they're trying to be efficient, and commissioners have got to do something to come up with housing. I mean, they're working hard here, but I think we might want to rethink this one. Does anybody remember when they built the bridge over Glory Bowl when they were putting up the new highway? Remember how that turned out? I kind of think that this would be something like that.
Big.
This is Kat. So I am of two minds with this. I agree that we need dignity in death and in life. I agree with everyone on this panel on that. I do believe that there are possibilities for this to go horribly, horribly wrong. I was part of a case where TMZ came to my house because they saw me at the morgue. And I don't agree that we should be treating seasonal employees as the lowest common denominator. But I also know that the county commission is probably going to do it anyway.
Go.
So at the end of the day, if it has to be done, I want us working alongside of them every step of the way. Would I love it if they would put it literally anywhere else? Yes. I don't think that kids coming out here on their first summer should be living above a sacred and sometimes stinky place. I don't agree that it smells like the carcass pit, but I also understand, as someone who is in a tax bracket where affordable housing is almost impossible in this community, I know that they are trying to find alternatives. So I'm going to work with them if that's the requirement.
Okay.
Down it.
Our seventh question will be answered first by Krista.
All right. The next question that we have for you is, should the coroner be an elected and partisan office?
I think that it should be an elected position because I think it's good to have competition in a way of like having different ideas. I don't believe that it's appropriate for this job to be Republican, Democrat, Independent, because I believe everybody should be treated equally. If you have 10 cents in your pocket or you're a multimillionaire, your political affiliation should have nothing to do with how I take care of you as a person who's died, and being respectful.
Here, here. We have the coroner system by virtue of state, probably territorial statute, but that's come down to the state statute. In a perfect world, I'd advocate for a medical examiner system that's a far superior system to the coroner system because you have people that are actually trained as forensic pathologists to deal with the mechanics and the legalities of death. In medical school, they go to, they spend a lot more time than probably any of us have had in the actual training. I mean, I went to graduate school, I wrote a doctorate, yeah, okay. But in general, I think the medical examiner system is a lot more robust system than the coroner system. Should it be partisan? No, it's not partisan. This is not a partisan system. Elected with something like this, where you're basically choosing lay people, to do this job. Sure, it should be elected because, but the other alternative would be for it to be appointed, but then who are you going to be appointed by? And then you get back into politics again.
Well,
So probably it should be elected. I don't see it as partisan. We are forced to pick a party.
Yeah, Clausen. The current requirements to run for coroner in the state of Wyoming are you are a Wyoming state resident, you are 18 years old, and you have a GED. This feels like the longest job interview without anyone ever looking at your resume. I will say that everybody on this team is incredibly qualified, so that's awesome. But the coroner system, I think here, being that this used to be a rural area, kind of a one-horse town, we're obviously not that anymore. I love the idea of an ME system. I don't think that's going to happen. But the elected side of it, it's not fun to run, but we're doing it because we believe in the work. Do I think it should be a party? I struggle with this because I don't necessarily think that we should have to run as a Republican or a Democrat. But I also know that we have trans deaths that come through our office. We have deaths of LGBTQIA plus community members. And I'm not saying that anyone on this panel would ever be inappropriate or make a joke or treat them with disrespect, because I know these people and I know they're good people. But I do understand why some people think that it should be a partied elected decision.
I agree with all my panelists. They've all made very fine points. It's the system we have. I think we should get comfortable with it because I don't think the system's going to change. We've had it since we've been a state. We inherited it from our migrating family from England. So that's what they had, and that's how the United States has a coroner system. An ME system would be a great system to have, but we're going to a coroner system. I don't think that's changed in Wyoming. Should it be Republican or Democrat? Unfortunately, it is. It is uncomfortable. I don't like it, but again, it's the system that we have to live in. And the coroner system around the United States is only getting better. The rules are changing for the coroner. Idaho has made some great changes, as Colorado and as Wyoming. I have more confidence in the coroner system now than I did 15 years ago. I think we've cleaned up where our vulnerabilities might be, And it's a system I'm proud of, and I think we all need to be proud of it too, because it works, and you got high-quality investigators, and it's a good system for us.
Thank you. The next question will be first answered by Russell.
The office's job includes notifying next of kin. What have you seen work or fail and how that's handled, and would you change this protocol?
Never ever notify next of kin by telephone. If they are out of town, out of country, you get an allied resource, and you make sure that in that jurisdiction, a couple of officers, preferably a woman and a man, perhaps a victim services representative, or victim services advocate, but go and notify in person. That's probably the most important part of it. And that protocol would be changed about on period.
Kat Clausen. Yeah, part of our job is notifying next of kin. Part of our job is doing that in person, going to that person's home with an officer or an officer and a victim services agent. They're great, by the way, victim services. Some of the challenges with that come on scenes like we saw on the pass last week. There were articles on Reddit and people commenting on who may have died thanks to civilians and other agencies miscommunicating or speaking out of turn. I think it should always be the coroner's job. I don't think it should be other county entities trying to do that for us. I also believe that the media has a part in that occasionally, and I don't want anyone ever to learn that their next of kin or their dear friend or their partner has died via Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or Snapchat or Reddit. And I think that that's something that we deal with almost every case where there's any kind of media attention, and we do our absolute best to make sure that doesn't happen. But we work with law enforcement to keep scenes very private for that reason. But I think it's a really important job the coroner has.
I told some folks before the forum tonight, you're going to find a lot of agreements, and I agree all the way down the line. The traditional way of contacting the next of kin, as Russ said, if they're outside their community, is send law enforcement, and within our community, we would send law enforcement. However, as Ken has pointed out, it is hard out on Facebook and social media, and that I believe is, as Latin, is our greatest challenge. I don't know if I have a solution. Think about it. You're trying to contact next of kin in New Hampshire. By the time you get a hold of the local police department and they find the address, day, 2 days, 3 days to go by. Facebook, they don't wait. So that is going to be a challenge for the coroner's office and for this team. I just don't know. I think it's going to get worse instead of better.
I think the other thing that I'd like to say in addition to this, because I have a different perspective of being a funeral director, for us, and I can see, I haven't talked to you guys about it, but ours has to be with people who are living over here from a foreign country, and they state that this is so, and then they might have a relative that might be with them. Maybe they don't even speak English. And so we have to be very careful of getting that person to give us all the documents and to really make sure that we're making that decisions and what we're doing, like, at least in the funeral home, are we really talking to the next of kin? Because we've actually had some people where they said, oh yeah, this is my wife, this is who it is, and we find out after a while, like, no, you're not the person who can make this decision. and you really have no authority to do that. That's a little bit different than the coroner. I do think that the coroner should definitely be the type of person that goes there and talks to the person with other deputies or a victim's advocate. But I think we need to be careful in how we determine who the next of kin is, because not everybody's truthful. And some people are not married. They're just two people living together who might not have kids, or it's just the two of them. But that's not necessarily the next of kin in that situation if they're not married. So I think we need to be very careful about that. Follow the rules and follow the trail, the paper trail.
Thank you. You guys are just great. Then we have the ninth question. Kat will be the person who answers it first.
What are your top 3 priorities?
Hi, Kat Clausen. I think more support for our deputies, more mental health support, partnering with TIPS and the health department, I think are probably the first order of business for me, just because I know that our mental health is incredibly important, not only for deputies, but for people in the county. Suicide and drug and alcohol related death are preventable. And we live in a ski town, and I'm really, really tired of seeing death by suicide. So I believe that we can partner with the health department and other organizations and county entities to provide more raw data to them to allow for those resources to be disseminated into the community. I think that the Travel and Tourism Board probably has something to do with the fact that we don't talk about these things because we're a healthy, happy county. But death by drugs, alcohol, and suicide are occurring in our county at a spiked rate. That is incredibly important to me that we need to address that. I also will advocate for a new morgue tirelessly, and I will advocate for more transparency and compassion in our office and leadership that is not absent. I think we've had absent leadership for many years, and our deputies are flying solo or with each other the vast majority of the time, and I think that there's redundancy in our budget as a result. Our coroner currently does not perform postmortems, does not investigate death, and signs death certificates occasionally in his plane. So I think that being a leader on the ground, I think that being a leader on the ground instead of an absent boss is what our office needs. And I think we can get anything done if we work together.
I think the first one actually is commitment to the team. It's the staff. I would provide them with resources, the training, education, well-being, whether it's mental health, physical health, time off. The team is number one. I think is the first goal, because you keep the team healthy, they keep the machine going. The investigative component, that's truly what we do, is the foundation. We are civilian detectives, and we need to continue on a path of integrity and a comprehensive, thorough investigation, and to tighten up our ability to secure and collect and track evidence. And then lastly, and I only put this last because we do it. We do it as a team. We do it as human beings, and as we take the compassion, respect, and dignity for those decedents that pass through our facility, and of course their loved ones. We do a good job at it. I don't want to forget about it. That's why it remains one of my core pillars.
Kristen, one of the things that really bothers me right now is that there's not great support for indigent people here in town. as a funeral director and sitting with families who are grieving, I think a lot of people don't understand how expensive death is. And we have a contract with the county to have them help with the final disposition. It's usually cremation because that's the cheaper option than burial. But I think these people are kind of left out in the wind. They've already lost and they're traumatized about their loved one, and now they have to worry about all the financial situations and everything going on. I have resources besides the county that I can get people that help. So this is a main thing that I'm passionate about because my dad was indigent and I had to pay for his cremation. And I know what these families are struggling with, and I think that I can help them. The other thing that I think is really, really important is the chain of command. They're doing what they're supposed to do, but I think that it needs to be reined in. I think like there has to be some accountability when people take stuff from the body, and when they put it into evidence, it's not only just the coroner taking possession of stuff, it could be the highway patrol, it could be certain people in other entities, and things are missing. Like when I talk with families, they're looking for journals, they're looking for personal identification of stuff that they have. And I think we need to do better.
It's amazing that we focus on teams because that is my top priority as well. I am looking forward to regular team meetings, which we haven't actually had. To Dave's point of investigation, I take training as a huge priority, both our training in investigation and death investigation, but as well as training in the recovery in some of the frankly challenging scenes that we could have in this county. And so team building, some emergency preparedness, and just flexibility for the kinds of scenes and situations that we could very well encounter. And then the morgue is a priority. We do need a new facility, and so that's one of those on the burner all the time, working with the commission, working with county government to try and facilitate that, help make it happen one way or another. And finally, and not probably finally, but the compassion end of it, always keep that in mind, always keep that on the top of the plate.
We now come to question number 10, and Dave will answer that first.
I think some of you have already touched on this, but what, if anything, would you change from the previous administration?
Dave, I feel for you.
Does that mean I get to go last?
Oh boy, it's work if you have to. Wait for that if you get to.
Russ brought it up, team meetings. I think that's vital. Meet formally, informally, but we need to meet, debrief. Again, not the case of last week, is something we would need to meet and debrief. Just get together occasionally with pizza and talk about what's going on in our lives. However, with that, we need to stay focused on training and education, and I think we can do that with the support of the new coroner, because that's an area of improvement. Is not only do we need to meet and debrief, we also need to have the coroner promote and encourage the staff to seek out and find the training and fund the training. And lastly, and I'm sure we'll have some other very fine points, the coroner, the manager, still needs to be a field investigator. In other words, they take calls. They get a lot of calls. they're still working the trenches. They need to be an investigator and take calls.
My turn. I just really do go left.
Krista again. There are a lot of things I would change. When you said that, I wanted to say everything. I definitely think that there is not the camaraderie of support for these guys. I don't work for the coroner's office, but I see that as a funeral director. I don't see, thank you for your hard work. Thank you for, stepping up and seeing some of the stuff you did. Like, is there anything I can help you with? That has never happened for you guys, I don't believe. And I think that's very important that people are thankful for them taking responsibility for something that the average public can't do. To see some of the stuff and to deal with the families in death every day. It is absolutely, in my opinion, asinine that these guys cannot sign death certificates. They all go to the same training as the coroner. You all have to do things together, but they can't sign the death certificate. They have to wait for it. Dumb. I don't like that. I do believe with Dave that if you are a good leader, you are getting in the trenches with the people you work with. It's not always pleasant, but you know what? If you're a leader, you need to go out on call with these guys. You need to go out even by yourself. Like, don't make them do the dirty work and you sit and just do whatever you want. That's not being a good leader. Somebody needs to step up to the plate. Okay.
Mrs. Stein.
I could go on a lot longer.
Well, I'm not gonna throw Brent under the bus quite that much, and I don't want to say throw under the bus. I mean, everybody administers differently, and he has his way of doing things. I would probably do it differently, starting with a little bit more team building and specifically focus. I guess if I was, it's not changing so much as just as continuing to emphasize, compassionate, science-based investigation. I would advocate strengthening our collaboration with private entities. We work together with the funeral home regularly, and I'm perfectly happy to go help Chris out if she has a problem that it's like, can you help me move this guy because he needs to be happens, or something like that. And staff training to deal with some of the areas that we have to work with, and given our tourism and outdoor recreation sort of milieu that we live in, I think that we could develop some training exercises that training and focus, some proactive kind of planning that would put us in a position to be able to handle that kind of stuff a little bit easier or a little bit more better. But the goal is basically respectful, thorough investigation, particularly thorough.
Thank you.
And you get to go up in the jury.
So our current budget for the 2027 year for the entire coroner's office is $253,236. The coroner's salary is $72,500 of that. Brent Blue has taken 5 call days in the last year. So that means that we are taking those call days and being paid. He's also being paid. So that's a redundancy in our budget, which if the coroner was taking call days in partnership with his team, his or her team, we reduce that and it allows for us to spend more money on things like the lift that doesn't work. So Krista and I call each other when we need help because we do occasionally have bariatric patients. I'm strong in spirit. I'm only 5'2". I don't have the torque for a bariatric patient. And it's also disrespectful to try and maneuver a bariatric patient in a way that is not safe for them in life. So my main thing with all of that is call days. Call days are something that we need to be taking as the coroner. I also believe that because we have an asset leader who is occasionally, I don't know, on safari, and we can't get a hold of him, that means our death certificates can't get signed. That means that the family can't file for life insurance. They don't have access to their loved one's bank account. They can't pay the mortgage after their loved one has passed away. I'm gonna do it in a second. Obviously, I have strong feelings about that. Our coroner, as a means to an end, has relied on technology and mechanical operations to fall by the wayside. Our machine that we use, our X-ray machine, the tech is from 1999. I can't even download the program on my computer. It's absurd. I think that we need to communicate with the team. We need to be a leader. I think that the administration being different in Russ's case, he's not going to throw Brent under the bus, but I have no problem doing that. The way that Brent treats Russ is very different from the way that he treats me. And I'm just going to leave that there. But yeah, call days, guys. Call days.
Great. Well, how should we get out of here by 7:30? So we have time for one more question. Is there one more?
Yeah.
How would you manage the coroner's office budget and work with the Teton County Board of County Commissioners?
And Krista gets answered first.
Honestly, I really don't know a lot about the budget because I don't work for the coroner's office. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you no, something that I don't. I think it's important to figure out where are these numbers coming from. Like, if you talk to these guys, you're going to find out what the needs are. And you're going to have to look at what the equipment's going to cost. You're going to have to look at how many cases are you doing every year. I think that indigent cases, certain cases are not being tallied because Dr. Blue has never wanted to pay for them. So I think you need to get down into the nitty gritty like you would with a business and see how much are you paying for everything and how much are you buying. And you would have to go with the county commissioners and say, this is what it costs to run the office. This is what we pay people to work for us and be on call. And then you have to come up with a plan as what number are you going to ask the county commissioners for, and you're going to have to fight for it.
I would agree with that to a large, predominant extent. I mean, you have to budget for, you have to take your estimate for case numbers, and our case numbers, average case per year has risen from 30 years ago to about 40 a year currently. You're going to have to figure that some number of those are going to have to be autopsied. And at that point, you're kind of just guessing, but you can use past information to basically predict that. Supplies, gloves, syringes, body bags, the kind of stuff that you have to think about. Vehicles, are we going to get a budget for vehicles? On the past incident the other day, I spent a fair amount of time trying to get one of our vehicles to function before, I was called away, and then he eventually got around and made it up to support Cat by the scene. You have to work with the commissioners, as Kristen said, and in fact, that's the job. That's why they're there. That's why we're there.
Kat Clausen. I know that we need to work with the county commissioners. Our budget is very small, as I noted earlier. I think if our coroners acted in taking call days and reduces the redundancy and those costs of not only having coroner and the deputy on scene, we can save a lot of money. I've been in some of these meetings, these budgetary meetings, and I know they're contentious. I know that. I know that we're fighting for every dollar. Every county entity is fighting for every dollar. And I understand that we can perform more autopsies when we have less redundancy in cost. We didn't need a cattle scale, but we got one. Instead of putting that money towards a new lift or updating some of the mechanical issues that we had in our morgue. So I know that working with the county commissioners is going to be really important to us, and our current leadership has a terrible relationship with the county commissioners, and I know that we can change that. And I know that you kill a hell of a lot more flies than honey. So, you know what, I'm going to go to those meetings and I'm going to work with them, and we're going to work as a team to make sure that our budget is spent well. And I think that also goes back to the team dynamic, where we check in with each other, we have those conversations. What do you think we need? What are we missing from this? What is broken? What needs to be, what needs to be repaired? So, team dynamic.
I have a lot of agreement down the line. It's a budget. Because if you run a business, you have a budget. Government has a budget. There's always going to be itemized items that we have to plan for, an increase from materials to fuel. That doesn't go away. I would hope to be able to manipulate the budget some to strengthen our training. Because I believe that I'm so much of a believer in training and education for our staff. So I see, if I'm the coroner, I have to approach the commissioner to manipulate the staff. I also think it'll be interesting if we don't get a new morgue, but we have to improve the new morgue. We have to pay for a lot of resources, X-ray machine, upgraded evidence. It may be something we have to plan over the years, not at all at one time. We'd love to have it all at one time, but maybe we have to budget it over 2 to 4 years. But we would take those priorities and talk with the commissioners and hopefully gain those enhancements to improve the morgue. But I think it's going to be a step at a time when it comes to that.
Terrific. It's now time for closing statements.
Great discussion on my colleagues.
Yes, ma'am.
Closing statement, I think that I would make a very good county coroner for Teton County. I come from a long line. My great-grandfather was Wyoming's first state game warden. My grandfather was a county commissioner when the governor called and said, "You're going to have to shut down gambling in Jackson." My dad came out and built a water system for the town of Jackson that we are still using today. That's part of the reason I would be advocating for a new morgue that's going to be working 40 years from now. As far as a closing statement, I guess what I have to say is I would appreciate your support to put me in office. Please don't come and see me at work.
Yes. Yeah, awesome. I'm not seeking this office as a final achievement of my career or a feather in my cap. Obviously, I'm ready because this work matters really deeply to me. As your coroner, I will continue to work tirelessly on the scene, in the morgue, and alongside the deputies. I will be a present leader and not an absent boss. And I will serve this community with dignity, transparency, and integrity, because that's how I live my life. And I'm here for the people who live in Teton County and the people who die in Teton County. Thanks for being here, guys.
Well, thank you, League of Women Voters, the audience that came out, them, of course, our fine team. We all have great resumes, and mine, of course, my strength is the criminal investigation side. I have 29 years with the sheriff's office, as a detective and as a death investigator. I began with the coroner's office, Teton County Coroner's Office in 2008, and became a death investigator in 2015. I have served with both offices. Together with that experience, training, certification, I believe I can create that interface of the criminal and the medical side of the investigation and bring to conclusion the cause and manner of death through a thorough, comprehensive investigation. And that is our number one driving principle at the coroner's office, is cause and manner of death. And I believe my experience as a detective and death investigator best represents that. Back in.
Krista, thank you guys for being here. I would just like to say that I've never known anyone who worked so hard as me women in the field of trying to do this job in a man's field. I would like the opportunity to try to be coroner, to try to do things that I think need to be changed based on what I see as a funeral director and how we can support families. And just have a better, I think we all want different leadership. I think we all have great things that are going to be helpful no matter who wins this race. So I want it to be very clear, like, these guys are my colleagues. It'll never change no matter what happens with this race. We're all going to work together great. But I would love the opportunity to be the first woman to be a coroner and to be able to go full circle from being the coroner and helping people to having people choose me as a funeral helen to take care of them.
Thank you. Thanks to everyone for joining us tonight to meet these excellent candidates for county coroner. Kudos to each of the candidates for your dedication to our community and your thoughtful comments. Because you provided important insights, we are now much more informed. We are much obligated to the media panel for their insightful questions and to the entire forum team, the League of Women Voters of Wyoming, Teton County Library, Jackson Hole News and Guide, Jackson Hole Community Radio, KHOL 89.1, and Buckbraille, with funding provided by Teton County Library Foundation and friends. And finally, a big thank you to you, our audience, for striving to become better informed voters. You make a difference. Your vote is your voice. So remember, in Teton County, our voter registration deadline is August 3rd for the primary election on August 18th. Early voting begins the 21st of July, goes to the 17th of August. And for your information, the League of Women Voters of Wyoming has paid to put all of our local races into Vote 411, a national website that allows voters to see who and what is on their ballots. Whether it's local, state, or federal, every election is important to ensure that our laws and policies reflect our values and beliefs, the values and beliefs of our community. Vote 411 is a wonderful resource, so check it out by going online to vote411.org. And as a bonus, these forum sessions are being videotaped with recordings available online at tclib.org after the events. Many thanks to Sam Pope and Pope Productions for video recording these sessions for us. There will also be Spanish subtitles available on the YouTube recording, so check them out. And look for us again in the September-October timeframe for our forums in support of the general election. I also want to remind you that if you're looking for fun and want a great way to support informed democracy, come join the League of Women Voters. You don't have to be a woman to be a member. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan, grassroots organization with expertise in voting and elections. Our mission is to empower voters and defend democracy. In addition to our local forums, candidate forums for statewide elections are being held in Casper and Laramie this month. These are co-hosted by the League of Women Voters of Wyoming, WyoFile, and the Wyoming Public Media, and are live streamed on the Wyoming Public Radio. Unfortunately, our forum dates overlap, but recordings will be available on the League of Women Voter YouTube channel. Next week will figure races for Wyoming Governor and U.S. House. The full schedule is listed on the League of Women Voters Wyoming website. So again, many thanks to everyone for tonight's event. Until I see you again, stay positive, be kind, safe, cool, and healthy. I'll see you in September, October for our general election forum. Thank you so much.